Hello, everyone. I'm here for our final slot this week of Ask the Midwife. It's been a very busy week and hopefully I've managed to answer some of your questions, and you've seen the posts for the questions that I haven't been able to answer. I just wanted to tell you that we've got some exciting stuff hopefully happening over the next few weeks. We've talked a lot about how we reach out to pregnant women and reassure them and provide them with some of the services that we are not able to provide at the minute, such as antenatal education. So we're going to use this same forum to launch some antenatal classes next week and the week after. So next week we're going to concentrate on your pregnancy and what happens in labour and when you birth your baby. And the following week we will focus on what it's like being a new mum, having a new baby, and we are how you stay positive and look after your mental health. So there will be a session with Dr. Yusuf, our psychiatrist who works very closely with us, is going to try and see how he can help you all staying positive when you're being pregnant or self-isolating with a new family. So my first message in from Gemma is you are asking about if you give birth in the Spires but require breastfeeding support, will you be transferred to the ward for a night? The Spires, Gemma, is up and running as normal. Hopefully I showed you that on Wednesday. We have postnatal rooms on the Spires where people stay overnight for help with breastfeeding. So that is as normal. So there's no reason for you to be transferred to the ward. The only time we have to transfer you to the ward is if you have had to go to theatre as part of your birth, or if there are any complications or concerns about the baby and they need some extra support. So hopefully that reassures you. Jodie asks, are you still able to have a baby at the Spires if you've been told that you cannot at the Horton? You had your last baby in the Knowles suite and would love to have your baby there too, if possible. Yes, Jodie, for some women birthing in a free-standing midwifery-led unit like the Horton, Cotswold Maternity Unit, Wallingford or Wantage, it may be possible to still use a midwifery-led unit, but for safety's sake being within the hospital. So the Spires would be the option for you. So as I said, on Wednesday, Spires is still up and running. And you can birth there. Natalie, you said, are water births still going ahead on the Spires? Your due date's today, so hopefully will be any day now. Absolutely, we've got 3 birthing pools in the Spires and they are available for women. The majority of women try using the birthing pool in labour. Some women want to birth in there and some women don't, but it's your choice. But absolutely, Spire staff are waiting for you. So they will maybe see you over the weekend, or I will see you there at the beginning of the week. Leanne, you've asked if you can have a water birth when you have gestational diabetes. Leanne, there is birthing pools on the Spires or in our freestanding midwifery-led unit if you have gestational diabetes that is diet controlled. If you require metformin for your diabetes or insulin, then we recommend you birthing on delivery suite. We do have 1 pool on delivery suite. If you have gestational diabetes that's controlled with insulin, it's a bit more difficult because you have to have some drips to help stabilise your blood sugar. So using the birthing pool can be a bit more problematic. But we try to enable as many people as possible to use the birthing pool because it's such a great place to be when you're in labour. Carla, You spoke to your midwife last Saturday at the Horton, and she told you that your birthing partner can stay with you the whole time I'm there. Is this still the case for the Horton? So Carla, your partner can stay with you while you're having your baby, but if you choose to stay overnight in the Horton for some extra feeding support, then your partner will be encouraged to go home as in any midwifery-led unit or on delivery suite. So at present, it's them being there with you for the birth, and then after the birth, partners are encouraged to go home if you're planning to stay overnight. Cheryl, you have 3 upcoming appointments in the next couple of weeks. One is Mr. Impey's obstetric clinic. Will that still go ahead? Cheryl, in terms of the obstetric clinics, what we're trying to do is work out which ones that we can do virtually, either by video or telephone, and which appointments need to be face-to-face. So the appointments that need to go ahead, that are important to assess you and the baby, will go ahead, and it's just a question of them contacting you nearer the time if it's going to be a telephone or virtual conversation rather than face-to-face. So we have medical students helping us with those phone calls, and some midwives who can't be in patient-facing roles due to their health. So somebody will be in touch with you to let you know whether it's a face-to-face or virtual conversation. Paula, you'd like to ask if you need to take out ear piercings for birth. No, Paula, you can continue to wear piercings wherever they are. If anybody has any piercings around the area where the baby might come out, you might want to remove them for the birth, but otherwise you can continue with your piercings. Gemma, you've asked if birthing in the spires you'd need more pain relief. Is it possible to move to delivery suite? Yes, Gemma, we can move you downstairs. There is generally a point in most women's labour where they get to a point that they think, actually, I think I want to have, an epidural, or I've had enough of this. If that's the case, if you said, I think I want to have an epidural and go downstairs, the midwife looking after you will suggest that she examines you, because quite often it's because your labour has progressed to a point that you're about to start pushing. And if that's the case, most women think, well, actually, I know it's about to happen soon, so I will stay on the spires. But if you still feel, even if it is going to happen soon, that you want to go down and try and get an epidural before baby's born, then we would transfer you down for that. Zoe Amy, you had a long labour by the looks of it your first time round, and quite a difficult time, and you're asking if it happens again, will your husband be allowed to stay with you? The second labours and births are completely different. We'd like to reassure you that they're generally less than half the time of your first labour and birth, and women, because it is much quicker, tend to cope much better second time round. And we're obviously there to support you. So your husband will stay with you throughout your whole labour, if you want to have his support, and then obviously after the birth of your baby, you can make the decision as to whether you want to go home straight away with your partner, or you stay in the ward overnight and he goes home and then picks you up the following day. Hannah, you're 36 weeks pregnant and you want to give birth in the spires. You want to stay home as long as possible. When should you head in? So our general advice for people who are having their first baby is that when your contractions are regular and they're 3 minutes apart, and each one was as strong as the last one. So it is that regularity and strength, as well as the frequency from when they're coming, that's the right time for you to come into hospital to see us. If it's your second and subsequent baby, because they can be so much quicker, we recommend that when they're regular and they're happening every 5 minutes, that's when you come into the hospital. So it's worth having that period of time at home to make sure. So, you know, think about your contractions over half an hour. Are they really that regular? How are you coping with them? That's, I mean, when I talk about coming into hospital, obviously if you're planning a home birth or birthing in the midwifery-led unit, the same applies in terms of timing. But it's that regularity in them that helps us to know when's the best time for you to come into hospital. Obviously, if you have any concerns or you're not sure, why don't you phone up the midwives and ask for advice? That's what we're there for, so that we can help you with that decision making. We want you to stay at home as long as possible too, because being at home is much better for you. You can eat and drink as you want, you can rest as you want, you're not being disturbed by other noises. And generally, most women feel much calmer being at home. Vicky, you're due in June and have heard there could be a stop to having a birth partner. Is this true? Vicky, I would like to reassure you that we in Oxford cannot see a point when we're ever denying people having a birth partner in labour. We feel it's incredibly important. We're very sad that we've had to stop your partner being with you at other times, but we have done it to try and keep everyone as safe as possible and try to stop the spread of this virus. But it is so important for you to have your birth partner with you in labour that I can't see that we will ever stop that. And you want to put a thank you out to Amanda and the Lotus team, as she's been fabulous with supporting you. I have to say we are fortunate to have so many amazing midwives, but as you've identified, Amanda Bull is a fantastic midwife, and I'm glad that she is giving you support. And the Lotus team is an amazing new team, and the girls are working really hard to get it off the ground. So it's been really such a great team to have in Oxford, and we hope there'll be more teams like it in the future. Cheryl, you said, with regards to scans, do we still enter the Women's Centre as normal? Yeah, Cheryl, when you come into the Women's Centre, if you come in on level 2, you will find that the doors are locked and that you have to buzz to come in. Somebody will ask you what you're coming in for, and obviously as long as it's just you and you don't have a partner with you and children, then you can go home and you can come into the department and they'll signpost you the way. At level 1, during the day, still got somebody on the desk, so it depends which entrance you come into. Carla, you've asked if you decide not to stay overnight and you go home from the hospital, can you and your birth partner leave at the same time? Absolutely. You know, when you're on the delivery suite, you're in a room, and the difference between that and going up to the ward is that you're just looked after by that one midwife, or you might meet another midwife during the labour, but that's very few staff. As your partner is staying with you, they're not then being exposed to more staff as well. So the period of time that you're in the birthing environment is no different, but we encourage you to go home, with your partner together. So your partner won't have to leave and then come back for you. They'll just stay with you until you're ready to be discharged. So I'm just going to ask my daughter to get me a drink. Could you grab me a water, please? So Sarah, you've asked, are you allowed to record your 20-week scan for your partner when you find out the sex of the baby? Sarah, I'm really sorry. We've apologised profusely for this, but our scan department, our ultrasonographers, won't allow people to use, thank you, phones to record scans. It has been really difficult. for people, and we understand that. They're offering you a free photograph as an alternative, but I'm afraid that's not going to be possible this time. Chloe, you said, are we allowed a birthing partner? Yes, Chloe, you are allowed a birthing partner, but please, they have to be free from symptoms of the virus. So if your birthing partner has symptoms of COVID, say you were planning to have your boyfriend, husband, or other partner with you, and they developed signs of COVID, they couldn't come in to be with you. So we're saying to people, try to have a backup to make sure that you have somebody with you who is asymptomatic of the virus. And hopefully, with your partner, you're self-isolating for the weeks leading up to the birth anyway, so your risk of getting the virus is much less. Christina, you've asked, is breastfeeding support available in the hospital too, or just in the spires? Christina, of course it is available everywhere. You'll be helped with breastfeeding on delivery suite, you'll be helped with breastfeeding on level 5 or level 7, which is where the spires is. And also if you're in any of our midwifery-led units, there's breastfeeding support there. And we're going to make some resources available for you to help you with infant feeding from this Facebook page as well over the next few weeks. Rachel, you've asked if you've heard that some of the 36 weeks are being cancelled. Is it true? And you're saying, if it is true, how will the position of your baby be assessed? So Rachel, the 36-week scan for those who are on pathway D will still go ahead, and for some other conditions, or if we have any concerns about the size of your baby, the scans will go ahead, but the majority of 36-week scans are going to be cancelled. In terms of determining position of the baby, the midwives do that when they feel your abdomen. They will be able to determine which way round baby is. If they've any concerns and think that they're not sure, they will then arrange for you to come in to our breech clinic so that we can scan to see which way round baby is then. Sophie, you've got a planned caesarean section booked at the end of the month because your baby has some complications, and you're aware that your baby's going to need some antibiotics and scans and things when it's born. How long can you expect to stay in, because you don't want to under or overpack? Sophie, for women whose babies are going to be in the special care baby unit, you will be given the option to stay for a couple of days. And we are also really excited to be able to let people know that babies can go home and still come in for their IV antibiotics to enable people to get home much quicker. So there's lots of changes happening in there, but we will go over that with you. But I probably plan to have a couple of days worth of stuff with you, just in case. People can always drop up more stuff to the hospital for you, and we'll make sure that it is brought to you. We can meet them at the front door and pick up any extra bits and pieces that you might need. Chloe, you're saying, would I still be allowed for your 36-week scan? I think I've just answered that. So if you've just come in, if you want to rewatch, but it is about that most of the 36-week scans will be cancelled. Christina, you're talking about pelvic floor exercises and wondering if there's an alternative to these. Christina, will hopefully be doing a little bit on exercise next week, so have a look at that. you know, you can do internet searches on alternative things to help with your pelvic floor. But generally, the pelvic floor exercises are a bit of an art, so there are different ways to teach it, which can help in doing them. But there are bridges and things that you can do. You just need to make sure that if you're lying flat on the floor, that you just put a pillow under one half of your body to tilt your body slightly so that you're not lying flat. Jenna, you're telling me this is your third baby. How far apart should your contractions be before you come into hospital? Jenna, when you're contracting every 5 minutes is about the right time to come into hospital. Or think about, you may want to think about going to one of the midwifery-led units if it's suitable for you, which may be closer to your home than driving into the John Radcliffe Hospital. Becca, you're really worried about your husband leaving an hour after the cesarean because it's your first babies. What top tips do you recommend for coping strategies for mum? Becca, when you come out of theatre, you're in our recovery bay for probably more like 2 hours rather than 1, and your partner will stay with you during that time before you go upstairs. When you go upstairs, there are lots of midwives, nurses, support workers, all around to be able to help you with the baby. It's been amazing. Because people are leaving hospital much sooner, the staff are feeling that they have a lot more time to spend with the women that do stay in. So I'd like to reassure you that you're going to get lots of help and support, because we're aware that it's a bit more difficult when you've had a cesarean, being able to lift the baby, being able to get into the right position for feeding the baby. So we will make sure that the staff are there to help you with that. So Vicky, this is your 6th baby. Wow, congratulations. You've got gestational diabetes, and you're asking about, because you have to be induced for that, can your husband come with you? So Vicky, what happens is, because when you're having your 6th baby, we induce your labour by breaking your waters, you will go straight to the delivery suite for that to happen. And because you're on the delivery suite in a single room, and that's where you'll stay until you have the baby, yes, your husband will stay with you during that time. Vicky, you have an appointment with an obstetrician at the John Radcliffe on the 22nd of April. You're asking, is it still going ahead in hospital or over the phone? I can assure you, Vicky, you're asking, does the appointment really need to happen? Vicky, they're looking at all appointments at the minute to work out whether things really need to happen or whether they can be postponed or cancelled. And then they're deciding whether they absolutely have to see people face to face or whether it can be via the telephone. So if they're saying that it's really important for you to be seen, then we do ask you to come to the hospital to that appointment. You wouldn't believe how empty the waiting rooms are during our clinics just now, because we're properly triaging people to make sure that it's only the right people that are being seen face to face. But it is important, if you asked for a face-to-face appointment, that you do attend so that we can check you and the baby are well. Carla, you're having your first baby and you're quite nervous because you haven't experienced it before, and you're scared you won't know if your waters have gone or if you're in labour, will it be obvious? Carla, I think you'd really benefit from joining us next week when we're going to be doing some antenatal classes and going through these key things about what's happening in labour when you know your waters are broken, contractions, how we can help you to cope with labour and birth. So please look at this Facebook site over the next few days, because I think they're going to advertise our sessions shortly, and it'll be really great. And if you can't actually be there, because the sessions will be at 2:30 like they've been so far, because they are available to watch on catch up, I suppose, then you can watch them at a later time with your partner or whatever, so that you know what to expect. So hopefully we can reassure you more with those. Iona, you were trying to book an appointment with the GP to see the midwife in 28 weeks, but they say they're not doing any appointments. And you're wondering what's going to happen with your antenatal care. So what we've done, Iona, myself and Emily Brace, the other consultant midwife, is we've produced a guide to tell you what appointments people will be having face-to-face and what they'll be having via telephone during your pregnancy and after the birth of your baby, for people having their first babies and people having their second and subsequent babies. I've shared that with the Maternity Voices partnership, and we're going to put that up on the website later over the next few days. We're also going to put it on our hospital website in our maternity pages, but it's not there yet. And don't worry, people are going to be calling you. We have community midwives who can't do direct face-to-face work because they have underlying health problems, and they're going to be phoning people up to tell them what's happening with their appointments. So you will get more information, and we'll tell you how we're going to get these important blood tests done and make sure that you and your baby are well. Gemma, you're on pathway C. Will you still get your scans? Yes, you will. So it's people that are on pathway A generally that won't get their 36-week scan. Vanessa, you're asking how far ahead are 36-week scans being cancelled. I'm not sure what's happening in the scan department. I know that we've been fortunate enough to have some lovely medical students working with us who are working their way through the list of scans, and they're contacting people. So I don't know how far ahead they've got in notifying people regarding their scans, but we will let you know as soon as we know what's happening. Emma, this is your second baby, and you had your daughter 7 years ago, and you want to try the Spires, but you're worried about coming to hospital on your own. So if I call the Spires, would someone come and meet me? Emma, absolutely, please don't be concerned. Just when you phone up the Spires, just talk through with them how you're feeling, and they can arrange for one of our support workers to come down and meet you. Just let them know. So let them know what we've just chatted about, and if you're feeling nervous coming in, we want to do everything that we can to help you feel as relaxed as possible, because it's really important. And we know this is very difficult for everybody, not having your birth partner with you. So please, we will try and do everything we can to make it as positive an experience for you as possible. Carla, you're planning to breastfeed your baby from birth, but if you're having problems with it, you're asking should you bring milk into the hospital as well. Carla, we'd say we'll try everything we can to help you with breastfeeding your baby, and if you did need to have formula milk, we do have it in the hospital, but we would encourage you, if you have concerns, to do some hand expressing when you're pregnant, and then any colostrum that you manage to catch from your hand expressing and save, then you can bring that in with you. Now one of our infant feeding team, Naomi, is going to do a session in about 10 days time on infant feeding and hand expressing. She's going to talk through storing colostrum. She'll talk through positioning and attachment with the baby. So we're going to get as much information out there as we can to help you. But please be reassured that it's very important for us that your baby feeds, however that is, and we will help you with that. Sophie, hi. You're due to be induced next week, and you're asking, after the baby is born, are you more likely to get COVID-19 because you're worried your immune system might be weaker? So you're just thinking about your husband doing food shopping, etc. after the birth. So Sophie, women do have a weaker immune system when they are pregnant and afterwards, and that's why we've asked women to self-isolate, and we'd encourage you to continue that afterwards. I think if your husband is only going out for essential times and is just going food shopping, say once a week rather than every day, that would be much better. That reduces your risk of exposure. And again, I think the supermarkets now are so in tune to washing down the trolleys, hand hygiene for people coming in, keeping up the social distancing. You know, all of that's really important. But again, when your partner comes home, making sure he washes his hands thoroughly, yeah, you will be fine. Carla, you're just saying that your midwife has requested another scan for you because you think maybe might be a little bit smaller, and you haven't heard anything. We published a letter from the scan department, I think on this Facebook page, but if not, it's on our Oxford maternity page, Oxford University Hospitals Trust page. And there's an email address for the scan department that you can contact them directly to question if you haven't heard anything. Cheryl, you've just asked how, because your 36-week scan wouldn't be until August, you are just wondering whether things will continue. I guess it depends what evolves with the pandemic. We're hoping that things are starting to plateau and that we will see signs of improvement. I guess it depends how good people are with social distancing and whether they start to get bored and start to go out and about more, because that will prolong the virus. So I, like every other healthcare professional, are saying, please get people to stay at home. I drove home last night from work and saw about 4 or 5, might have been 20-year-olds all packed together on a bench, sitting at the side of the road. And, you know, if people aren't going to respect social distancing, we're not going to get on top of this virus. So all I can say is please, please, please encourage your relatives to be patient and stick with these plans, because it is starting to look like it's working. But if people don't, then this could go on for a lot longer. So we're looking at our services on a weekly basis, what we can provide and what we can't. And I don't know what that's going to be like in August. So it feels like week by week it's changed at the minute. But if we can stay stable, then we should be okay. Katie, you're asking about perineal massage, if you've had a previous 3rd-degree tear. And you're wondering, as you get bigger, how you'll actually physically be able to do this. So yes, we believe perineal massage is good, you know, making sure that you're getting the oil into that scar tissue. We also have a package of care that we do at the birth to reduce your chance of the tear happening further. If you are struggling to do it, it's perhaps something you can ask your partner to do. Some people don't feel comfortable with that. The other tip from other women is that it can be easier to do on the toilet. So if you're sitting on the toilet, you can reach that area a bit more easily, and perhaps do it the last time you go to bed, the last wee you have before you go to bed, although I appreciate you're up during the night potentially for more, but that might be an easier place for you to do it. Vicky, you're asking about migraines. You suffer from migraines and you had one after you had your baby the last time. So you're coming into labour on your own because your partner's looking after your 2 other children, and you're worried about if you get another migraine, how you'll cope with the baby. And is there any additional support for people who don't have a birth partner with them? Vicky, please be reassured that your midwife will be staying with you, and that you won't be left on your own, especially if you haven't got somebody there with you. We do have support workers who can help come in and support you as well. But I think we just need to make sure that's really clear in your notes so that people understand that this happened to you last time, to raise their awareness that it could potentially happen again. You know, if you want to bring another birth partner in with you, if you have a sister or mum or a friend that you want to bring in with you, you can, if your partner can't come in with you. But we just need them to self-isolate in preparation for that, so that they don't have any symptoms of the virus. But if you do come in alone, like somebody did the other day, they actually had a midwife and a student with them, and they had great support. And it may be that, I don't know how you feel about having a student at your birth, but that might be an ideal extra support for you. Vanessa, I think I've answered that question about the 36-week scans. We are looking at them regularly, and you're worried what's going to happen to the rest of your appointments. Again, I think it'll be really important for Maternity Voices for us to share that programme of care that we are providing, so that women can see clearly what we're doing at the minute. But just as we're looking at scans, we will be looking at our midwifery appointments too, to see when we could start increasing those again. But a lot of it will depend over the next few weeks on what's happening with the virus and our advice from the Department of Health. Cheryl, you've said your last baby was classed as premature, but the 36-week scan wasn't implemented then, so worried that your scan will not go ahead. Cheryl, I'm not sure at what gestation you had your last baby. I'm not really sure what you mean by that comment. Could you clarify, and then hopefully I can answer that for you. Vicky, you're saying, are epidurals still available? And if so, would they severely increase the length of time you have to stay in hospital after the birth? It's your third, but you've never had one before. So yes, Vicky, epidurals are still available. We have an anaesthetist on call who is present additionally to the anaesthetist that would normally be there. So there's 2 at the minute compared to 1. And yes, an epidural can prolong the time that you're in hospital. It may be that it will take some time for your legs to come back to normal, because some people, their legs are quite affected and they're less mobile. So, you know, if you don't have an epidural, you could be out within an hour or 2 of having the birth. If you do have an epidural, it might be longer, depending on how heavy your legs are. Becca, you're asking how many women you're going to share with on the ward. If you are suitable to go up to level 7 to the spires, then they are single rooms up there. If you're considered more high risk, or you've been into theatre as part of your birth, you'd go to level 5. And in level 5, they are 4-bedded bays. So it would be you and 3 other women. Zoemi, you're asking, where do I find the pathway I'm on? You've explained you're under consultant care. If that's referring to scans, it will say on your scan. So when you had your 20-week scan, if you go to that section of your notes, which is in the red divider in the notes, it will tell you in the 20-week scan whether you're on pathway A, B, C, or D, and that will give you more information. Caroline, you've said similarly, you're not sure what pathway you're on. Again, I would reference you to your 20-week scan and it will tell you what pathway you're on there. Prem, you're saying after birth, would your newborn fall under the vulnerable COVID group? Would we both need to continue self-isolating? Yes, Prem, you would need to continue self-isolating after the birth. Becca, after paternity, your husband will return to work in the NHS and could be scanning positive COVID patients. What steps should we take at home to protect me and the baby? So, Becca, when your husband goes back to work, he will have to wear quite strict personal protective equipment, what we call PPE. And, you know, he's a healthcare professional. He will be scrupulously hand washing. We are coming to work in our own clothes and changing into uniform at work. Our uniform is being bagged at work, and then we're using our own clothes to come home so that we're not potentially bringing any virus home. So I think there are steps that we are taking to make sure that you are as safe as possible. And then again, obviously at home, good hand washing technique, then you should be absolutely fine. Gabriella, you've asked again about water births. Yep, we're still running water births. They're very, very important to continue. You've also asked, do we need to self-isolate before giving birth? Gabriella, hopefully you're self-isolating now. It's really important for pregnant women to look after themselves, and we have encouraged them to self-isolate. So yes, you should be doing that, and your birth partner, whoever that's going to be, should self-isolate. And if you want a backup birth partner in case your first birth partner becomes symptomatic, they should self-isolate. Erica, you're 40 plus 3 weeks pregnant with your second baby. If baby arrives quickly, that is while still at home, will a midwife come to me? What's the process, please? You're planning to go to Wallingford. Erica, of course, if you feel like the baby is coming quicker, then you can get there. We ask you to call Wallingford and tell them, and they will sort out a midwife to come to you. Somebody will stay on the line and talk to your partner to support you while we get an ambulance to come to you as well. So we'll have both the ambulance coming to you and the midwife if you think that that's going to progress quickly. The other thing you could do, Erica, is talk to your midwife and plan a home birth if you think that your birth is going to be too quick for you to get to Wallingford, so that we've already got those plans in place for the home birth. Cheryl, you want to follow up on your last question. So you so when you had your baby last time, you were measuring 5 weeks behind, but when your baby was born, she was small. So you've been having consultant appointments. I think, Cheryl, the measurements are really important that the midwife will continue to do. If you're measuring 5 centimetres less this time, they would be recommending that you had a scan anyway. When you are measuring more than 3 centimetres difference from your weeks, the midwife would be encouraging a scan. And Mr. Impey, who runs the scan department, is absolutely clear that additional scans, if we're concerned about size of babies, will go ahead. And I think that's all. That seems to be all the questions for today. So going forward, the really exciting things, hopefully, are the antenatal classes that we're going to run over the next few weeks. So please do keep an eye on the Facebook page. I'm hoping that we can still continue to run midwife question and answer sessions. And we're looking at how we can make that more available to women. And so that you can ask personal questions about you directly as well. So as the service evolves and the things that we're doing, we will absolutely share them with you. And I'm posting everything that I think that might be important for you. So watch out from that. I'm overwhelmed that you've found this a positive experience. It's great. The midwives are really positive in the unit, and there's still lots of laughter going on, even behind the masks. So please be reassured that we will look after you well and make sure that you're okay. So have a lovely Easter weekend. Please stay safe. Please encourage all your relatives to make sure the social distancing is still going on. And I will hopefully catch up with you at some point next week as part of the antenatal classes. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support.